Your moderator today. I'm also the editor-in-chief of EE World. So before we get started, a few housekeeping details. The PowerPoint that the presenters will be showing today is available in the resource section. You can just download it from there. And you may find some other resources that Omron will be putting there as well. We will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, but you can ask your questions at any time on demand if you happen to be watching it on demand, and we'll make sure those questions get answered. And remember, this webinar will be available on demand at EE World Online. So again, once again, I want to thank our sponsors, Omron, and I would like to introduce our presenters. So Patrick Leahy is the Business Development Manager at Omron Electronic Components with over 11 years of technology experience, and that would be my dog. He, Patrick, not my dog, started his career at Omron as a product manager, working 1 year directly with engineers at Omron in Japan. Patrick is passionate about creating technology products that are valuable, usable, and feasible. He is well known for his expertise in bash button and lighting and component technologies for the casino gaming industry. Patrick attended Lewis University, where he earned his Bachelor's of Science degree in marketing with a minor in finance. He currently resides in the Chicagoland area with his wife and Cassie and his dog, Bexley. Bexley, this is Stella. Sorry about that, folks. Now, Evan is our other presenter. Evan Kuhn attended Northern Illinois University, where he obtained his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering Technology. Starting as a product marketing intern with Omron, Evan began his career in inside sales after school and then became the territory manager for the Pacific Northwest. Currently residing in Seattle, he is now Omron's business development manager for the automated test equipment and AI integration industries. So I am going to hand it off to our presenters. Patrick, Evan, look forward to the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Amy. And like Amy mentioned, my name is Patrick Leahy, and I'm joined alongside my coworker, Evan Kuhn, to talk to you about enhancing player immersion through casino gaming solutions. It is our pleasure to be here. So throughout today's webinar agenda, we will cover several topics. The first one being, I will introduce you to Omron, specifically our amusement group that handles our casino gaming solutions. From there, I will go into the market trend as it pertains to the operation deck and the side lighting and topper lighting of slot machines. From there, I will start the solution side of our webinar to go over our bash button solution, as well as our STP lighting technology. And from there, I will hand it off to my colleague, Evan, who will go over our human image sensing solutions. So today, I just wanted to quickly go over Omron Corporation. We are a Japanese company founded 91 years ago. We are going into our 91st year this year, and we have over 40 plus years in the amusement market, which really started with our solutions into the pachinko and pachi slot markets of Japan. From there, we established our gaming division in 2004 with all functions of sales, engineering, and manufacturing. From there in 2010, we entered the US gaming market, and we established our sales division within the North American headquarters based out of Chicago. Our amusement market portfolio really is going to be a part of developing and producing solutions that are going to hyper focus on the slot machine of the casino gaming market. Just to highlight some of the product lineup, we offer a wide range of different kinds of sensors, different illuminations, different kinds of buttons or switches, as well as power supplies, OCAO, and facial systems, amongst many other solutions. As I kind of hinted at the earlier slide, I wanted to kind of go over a little key high-level overview of our strategy of the gaming market. Our gaming market strategy is going to be application solution-based selling. What we mean by that is we are going to hyper-focus on the slot machine and the key applications within that slot machine, whether it's the operation deck or the lighting assemblies that go alongside the slot. We are going to bring specific technologies that fit the needs of the slot machine. With that, our business style of that market and application oriented is very quick action. We know that slot machine manufacturers have very short development windows from 9 to 12 months, and we want to be able to start and conceptualize a product and bring it to market within that 9 to 12 month short cycle of new product, period. With that, the technology and development that we focus on is we offer a wide range of technologies, but again, it's all going to be based around the slot machine. We know that there are other applications within the casino gaming market, but our solutions are going to be hyper-focused on that slot machine. And from a production standpoint, we know that cabinets can vary in different quantities, whether that you have your very high-end premium cabinets that might just sell a couple thousand per year, or you have your high-level platform cabinet that's running at 40, 50,000 cabinets per year. We can offer a wide range of production capabilities to fit that small lot runs to that heavy, higher-end volume production. So with that, I will kind of get into some of the trends that we've seen within the casino gaming market. The first one being the operation deck. What we've seen, these older slot machines, the operation deck, are going to have 10 to 12 mechanical buttons, where the main interfacing that you are doing with the player is going to be from the mechanical contact buttons. Excuse me, my dog is also starting to act up here. So from that older slot machine trend, we've started to get into the current slot machine. We're starting to see a touchscreen be adapted by the slot machine manufacturers as the main point of interfacing with the player in terms of your denom buttons. Those denom buttons are going to be the ones that you can switch from 5 cents to 10 cents to 15-cent betting. You're still going to carry with it the main spin button to be your push button to make sure that you have that forced operation of the player so that there's no discrepancy of that accidental operation. From there, we could see the current or the future of the slot machine, where you are going to start to see that button deck become integrated within the display monitor. In that case, you will start to see curved button decks, and you will see a very modern, all-in-one encompassing interface with the display screen. In that case, in the future slot machine, while there still may be a need for the bash button, you might start to see the button deck become all touchscreen. Now moving over to the slot machine market trend for lighting, and I apologize, everybody. Bexley, please. So back in the past for slot machines, alongside those older slot machines that traditionally will use a lot of mechanics. Yeah, I'm going to pause right here. Just give me 1 minute.
That's totally fine, Patrick.
I'm so sorry. She heard Stella.
Okay. I'll tell Stella it's her fault.
I am sorry. Let me.
Oh, no. Hey, this is real. Everyone, we're all used to working from home and having our dogs in the background, so I'm sure we, I'm sorry, I got it started. But Stella wants to be a moderator. What can I tell you? So I'm not sure what she said to Bexley, but it obviously got things started. So they're having their own game, apparently, and aren't paying as much attention to these slides as we all are. Hey, I'll take this opportunity, by the way. Anyway, good time. I'll slip this in. I forgot to mention at the top that there is a survey in the presentation, so feel free to take advantage of that. You can also take advantage of it on demand. I personally haven't seen the survey yet, but I'm sure it will be interesting. So yeah, Patrick, I was just reminding the audience about the survey. So you're all good to go again.
All right, thank you. And again, I apologize.
We're good.
So with the lighting trend, when you look at the older slot machines that use the operation decks with a lot of the mechanical buttons, the older stepper type cabinets, those are not going to make use of a lot of lighting elements or LEDs. We really started to see that trend in our current slot machines on the market today. We really started to see them incorporate LEDs and other lighting assemblies for the side lighting of slot machines to really help draw that player in. Now, a lot of the newer slot machines on the market, and definitely the trend here to stay, is using those lighting elements not only as side lighting, but also as toppers and huge signage displays, as well as incorporating it into the operation deck itself. Now you are starting to see LEDs equipped all over the slot to help draw that player in so that they can see it from across the slot floor. They want it to be very bright, very visually appealing to that player. So this is one way that slot machine manufacturers have taken advantage of LEDs and different lighting elements to draw users to their slot. So here I will introduce you to Omron's bash button solution. We are going to call this one the general purpose bash button. So if you hear me referencing general purpose bash button, it is going to be our bash button solution for that main spin player interaction betting button. So some of the key features of our general purpose bash button, it is a water resistant, low profile halo lighting button. It comes with a seamless housing design that has the RGB LEDs incorporated into it to really give it that illumination effect and to draw that player into the cabinet. It carries with it a very high durability of 4 million operations. We know that your slot machines sit on a casino floor that's going to be open 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and that slot machine is going to see a lot of play. So these are very highly durable, very robust solutions to not only have that high durability, but we also do a lot of testing to make sure that it can withstand the rigors of the player. We know that some players like to push very lightly on the bash button, but we also know that there are players that will slam their fist on the button. So this bash button is built to withstand all types of play every single day of the year to provide that solution. Also, it's very high level for water and liquid resistant or ingress protection. We do a lot of testing on our bash button to make sure that it can withstand not only water, but different types of alcohol, different types of cleaning solutions, all the different types of liquids that are present on that casino floor and that could come into play around our bash button. So those are kind of the key features that we built our bash button around. And some of the other benefits are the attractive design, which I will go into later, the comfortable operation. So we have a very unique, comfortable push-click feeling with our pressure sensor. And the one I just mentioned is the high waterproofness or the liquid ingress protection. And all three of those I will highlight in the next couple of slides. And the benefits that it provides to the slot machine is you can expect a catchy design. And that catchy design will help attract the interest of the surrounding players. So when I mean catchy design, if you look at our bash button, there is a see-through key top, which allows that to be interlaid into the LCD and allow that LCD to come up through the bash button to allow for any animation that you want for the player to be perceiving. Whether it says sit down, play me, nice win, it can say anything and interact with that player in any way because it is showing the display underneath it. Also with that catchy design comes an impressive concept. The standard traditional mechanical contact buttons on the market will just have a regular static image on top that might just say spin or play now. With the see-through key top that I just highlighted, it allows you to interact very impressively with that player. In any kind of big jackpot situation, you might be able to have an animation that shows coins falling through the bash button to simulate that extra money hitting the player's pocket. And with that comes a fun effect. How awesome it is to win a jackpot, you're enjoying the coins on the screen, all of a sudden you look down at the operation deck and there's coins galore, not only on the LCD touchscreen, but the bash button itself. So it really creates a long-lasting fun effect to really pull that player in, and they like sitting down on your slot, interacting with that bash button, playing your game. So with that, after going over some of the benefits that the slot has, I want to go and highlight some of the key features of our general purpose bash button a little bit more specifically. The first one is design freedom. Because our bash button is made to go over the top of the LCD, there is no requirements as to where you need to put it on the operational deck. It can be on the left side of the button deck, it can be in the middle, it could be on the right. the freedom to place it anywhere in the button deck is there because it is a translucent key top, and you're going to be able to have any animation through the LCD monitor. With that, because there is no mechanical components like the traditional bash buttons on the market, it is going to be the lowest profile bash button. We are able to create this very slim bash button that is integrated into the glass and the LCD overlay. And since there is no mechanical components, it doesn't need to have that above 15 millimeters above the glass and kind of be that sore eye mechanical bash button that sticks out on the operation deck. And the other key features is the durability and waterproofness of the solution, with the durability again being 4 million operations, and the sealing ability that helps prevent water ingress amongst other liquids. And then a little bit more into the benefits. So with that catchy design, there is also a round and chrome plated bezel in circular shape for the bash button that gives a nice, very modern feel to the cabinet. And with the built-in RGB lighting ring, you don't have to go out and prepare any kind of LED or any kind of illumination to go with the bash button. It's all built into one concept. And then with that impressive concept, you can position it freely on the LCD, which gives you a lot of freedom to create a very unique looking operation deck. A lot of the mechanical buttons that you see on operation decks have to be on all the way to the right or all the way to the left side of the button deck. With our concept being designed in freely, you can create a unique looking bash button operation deck. And lastly, the maintenance factor of ours is not only is it excellent durability, water resistance, which means less replacements, less maintenance, but also with our unique bracket design, it's easy to replace because it is a screw-free installation. So while you still need to access the underneath button deck, it will be more of a pop-in, pop-out replacement rather than having to unscrew and screw in the bracket. So here's the main specification. I'm not going to dive in and go it over one by one technically. You guys will receive the material and be able to have the spec of our bash button. What I wanted to highlight is the thickness of 14.2 millimeters. That is the thickness of the full solution. So that's going to include the thickness that's actually underneath the operation deck as well. So that is a full stack height of 14.2 millimeters, when a lot of your mechanical contact buttons will be over 14 from the top of the button deck. So ours is a very slim design. The other thing I wanted to point out is ours, because it is going to be processed into the glass where you have to make a hole into the glass for ours to sit and bracket to, the glass thickness of our solution is 3 millimeters. And then you can also find some bracket information and some FPC information on there as well. And I quickly wanted just to show the product mounting. So on the left, you can kind of see where that kind of is showed as a reverse orientation. But once you cut the hole in the glass and attach our bash button on top of the glass, you will have the bracket to mount to on the back side of it, and then rotate and lock that into place. And then that lock mechanism will be hidden underneath the operational deck and away from the players. And then on the bottom, you can see the full stack height of 14.2 millimeters. And then once you add in the glass thickness of 3 millimeters, we actually sit 8.3 millimeters above the glass. So it is quite, 6 to 7 millimeters slimmer than your traditional mechanical push button or bash button, sorry. And I know I keep highlighting these, current mechanical bash buttons. For those who are very familiar with the casino market, it's because these current mechanical bash buttons are what is common use amongst the market. So here's also a nice chart that will show the advantages of the Omron bash button. So from the display, when I say variable, the first key feature or the first key advantage, when I say variable, I'm mentioning the see-through key top and the ability to use that LCD screen to show any animation through the bash button. The fixed display of the current solution on the market is it's usually going to be a static sticker or static image that either says spin or bet now or something like that. With the attachment, ours will attach on the LCD and be integrated into the button deck, where the current solution on the market is separate from the LCD and requires a different PCB to be made. The thickness, obviously ours is advantaged with that thin chrome bezel that only shows up top of the 8mm stack height above the glass. We have very high waterproof when the current solutions do not have any, which is very key because even if they're just drinking water, there's plenty of liquids or other types of dust or cigarette ash that might get into these bash buttons. So to have that waterproofness, to have that durability is very key. And that will end the session today on the bash button. And now we will move over to the STP lighting technology. So when I reference the STP lighting technology, the STP stands for see-through panel. And what this is it's Omron's base technology or our ability to take a 2mm thick acrylic panel and then laser etch any kind of custom graphic or artwork or pattern onto that panel. And then when you pair that panel with edge lighting LEDs, you can then turn on the LEDs and have a very nice visually striking image appear. So with that, what's standard to Omron is our ability just to take this panel, whether it is going to be 150mm by 150, it could be very unique shapes, it can be very large, and just custom etching any kind of artwork or graphic that we get from the customer. So with that, it is a simple structure because once you put the artwork on the panel, all you have to do is interact it with edge lit LEDs to have that visually striking image appear. So on that left, you will see the STP panel where it is placed with the LEDs. And when the LEDs are off, you could just see through the acrylic panel. It's transparent. And then once the LEDs are on, you will be able to see that image come up on that panel. So the application for these panels are going to be side lighting assemblies for slot machines. It could be toppers. It could be your signage for the bank of cabinets. And it's going to be truly unique in nature. So the process that we typically have for the design and development of the STP is first comes their awareness phase. So that is Omron being able to show you some different examples that we have. We have some prototypes made to introduce you to that technology, to really show you, hey, it's our ability. Yes, we are taking this 2mm acrylic panel, but anything that we can laser etch onto it or any kind of graphic we can show is really provided by the customer. So that first step is awareness of the capabilities that we have within our lighting technology space. So after that kind of initial planning awareness, starts to come the actual conceptual ideas of your side lighting or lighting assembly needs. So from there, we can start finalizing the artwork. Are you wanting to show your company's logo? Are you wanting to maybe you have some new content coming out that's animal based and you want to have some animal images on the side lighting? Or maybe you just want to do some patterns of squares or triangles. So we can get very intricate with that design of that artwork. And eventually we want to receive the artwork or the custom artwork from the company. From there, once Omron receives the artwork, we start to work on the design and putting it into a prototype of that panel. We want you to be able to see what that artwork looks on that panel that you want, whether it's 200mm by 600mm panel, or it's a unique crescent moon shape panel. We want to be able to show you what your artwork is going to look like visualized on this lighting panel. After we do that initial prototype, there's a lot of back and forth on modifying the look. We want to make sure that before we lock in any kind of tooling, we are getting the desired visualization that you want in that illumination. And then from there, we can kind of build an actual test sample where we can plug it into your slot machine to, again, check to make sure that once it's in your slot, it's still giving you the visualization and that illumination that you want and that you are looking for, that desired feel and look. And then from there, we go to mass production. So there is a lot of back and forth. There is a lot of locking in the design, locking in the panel shape, all of that. But that can be done very quickly. And from conceptual part, where we are making you aware of our technology, to when we can go to mass production is going to be in 6 to 7 months. So it's a very short turnaround time. From there, the core competence of our lighting technology, the first one being transparency. So when the LEDs are not activated, the STP panels will be transparent. So this allows the slot machines or pachinko companies to utilize this panel in front of their LCD display or wherever the player is looking at the actual game content. This panel can sit in front of the slot machine game, and then at certain parts of the game, whether it's a jackpot or whether it's a bonus game, you could all of a sudden activate the LEDs and have that image appear like it's floating in the game content. With that, the second key competence is our brightness. So we do a really good job of recommending or utilizing LEDs and making the panel and etching it in a way that those LEDs are going to maintain the brightness throughout the length of the panel. A lot of the times with lighting assemblies, the brightness, when you start to get fairly distance yourself from the LED, you're going to start to see that fade out of the color. With our solutions, you will be able to maintain the brightness that you are looking for throughout the whole entire panel. Where we start to see a little bit of limitation to that is 400 millimeters. So if you have a panel that is 400 millimeters in length, we start to see around 350 millimeters or so, we start to see a little bit of fallout. But from there, we can recommend putting LEDs on both sides to then illuminate on both ways. So again, our core competence is really maintaining the brightness throughout the whole panel. Also, this is a very key, and I know I've probably already said it multiple times, and I'm going to continue to say it multiple times, but the key here is also flexible design and effects. And what I mean by that is what is standard for Omron is us being able to laser etch onto a panel. So from there, the artwork, the graphics, the way that you interact with that artwork is very flexible and very unique to each customer. So with that, we actually have the ability to put multiple images on one panel. Depending on which way you edge light it, each image could show. So you can have actually up to 4 images on one panel and only light one image at a time. So for that, you can get like some kind of switching effect, where for sake of just an example is for your office workers and your actual meeting rooms within the office. You could have a little vacant or in use sign for the office. You could have an STP panel, and you could have a little switch that you can use the same panel to show vacant, or you can have the same panel be in use. So you can have multiple words, multiple lettering, multiple artwork on each one panel and edge light it and get that different effect. Excuse me. So for here, some of the key features or some of the benefits to the customers is you get a customized one-of-a-kind solution. So because we're locking in an artwork with the individual customer, you know and we know that we are partnering with you on that design or that panel shape or that panel size. What that means is we will not go to anybody else or your competitors or different customers to promote that same type of solution. So with that, when you partner with Omron with our STP, you can not only bring all your creative juices to the lighting assembly, but you can also know and rest assured that you're going to be the only company that has that slot with that type of lighting assembly. And that is very powerful on the slot machine world when you want to very much differentiate yourself from all the other competitors on the show floor and really stand out. The other thing is transparency. When you do not want that visualization to show, you can turn off the LEDs and just have it be a transparent panel. So with that, you could put it in front of the LED of the LCD of the gaming slot machine. And again, at different aspects of the game, whether it's going into that last reel to hit that bonus, and all of a sudden it says chance time on top of the screen, you can have a visualization or an image show up in front of the player at any aspect of your gameplay. And then the last one is, again, when you are on that show floor, standing out, differentiating your cabinet from the other people is at an all-time high. And with Omron's STP, you know that you are going to be creating a very bright, a very attractive illumination that will stand out on that show floor. Sorry. We know that when players enter, they're looking for that wow factor. They're looking for a cabinet to, wow, that thing is lighting up, that thing sounds fun, it looks fun, I'm going to sit down and put my money in that slot. So we are trying to contribute to you guys pulling in those players with these kind of lighting assemblies. From a logistics standpoint, the production method of STP is very easy, and it can be produced in any kind of production volume. So we know that at instances, there might be a cabinet that has very low volume. STP can be a perfect opportunity for that, but it also can get you to your high-level cabinets as well. The reuse of molding die is available for STP. So once we lock you into the panel shape and size, we can still use that mold while the panel shape and size would remain the same. We could still use that same mold for different types of patterns. So for instance, if you have a 150 by 150 panel, you don't have to be locked into the design of triangles on that panel. You can do 100 panels be my company logo, 100 panels be a tiger, 100 panels be, the Chicago White Sox. You can put any kind of artwork on that panel. You're only locked into that panel size. So the reuse of molding and dye is very relevant. So it helps for initial investment as well. And the installation, STP can be installed in a very narrow place because it is 2 millimeters thick, and it is a very thin plastic plate, and it can be side lit. It doesn't need to be like a diffuser that needs to have the backlit LEDs. It can be side lit. So it creates for little smaller assemblies for the side lighting. And while what is standard is our technology that we have to bring, we do have some different prototypes or some standard patterns that we have made to kind of just provide recommendations on how different kinds of lighting works. So of course, you guys can choose these standard patterns to take to market, but if it is a standard pattern that Omron provides, we also could take that to other competitors. So while we want to provide this to you to show you how to interact and kind of ways that you can have these different lighting assemblies, we are ultimately using these to kind of get your creative juices flowing in hopes that we can get some kind of custom artwork where we can lock it in with you and have that one-of-a-kind lighting assembly. But some of our standard lineups is beams, so you can have a really in-depth look. So that actually looks like there's depth to it, but that is a standard panel that is just straight up. With that, you can kind of have a sparkling shutter. And while these RGBs are moving, you can actually have like a movement to the visualization or illumination as well. With that, you can do scales where you can put the pattern in the middle of the panel to almost have like a floating artwork. And we can also curve these patterns. In this case, we have curved fish scales, but you can also curve these patterns for like the side lighting elements of slot machines. And there's some different elements. So like I said earlier, you can have two different graphics on one panel. So the top is one panel that either has the circle like a CD or it has the triangle. So at one time you could side light or edge light the side that has the circle, which you can show the circle. And then if you hit the other side, you can have the triangle, or you can do both and have both images appear. Also, you can do two independent graphics. So while you can do two independent graphics, it creates like this rotation or moving image. We can also get into what we call high definition, which is our ability to create very intricate artwork, for instance, a tiger, and be very, very high resolution with that. And then lastly is, we do have a plethora of different just artwork to, again, get the creative juices flowing. So at any one time, you can reach out to myself or your local sales representative and kind of even see different design patterns that we've done. While I may be showing 15 to 20, I do have, hundreds of these things available at any time. So with that, I just wanted to, again, thank you for your time. And, I'm sorry about earlier with the dog. But now I will hand it over to my colleague, Evan, to go over the human image sensing portion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Great presentation. Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Kuhn, Business Development Manager for Omron's AI integration software in industry. And I'm very excited to show you our human image sensing software. But before I do that, I did want to take a moment just to encourage you all to fill out the survey, as Amy had mentioned towards the beginning of today's presentation. So we're interested in gaining all of your feedback. Thank you very much. So with that, we'll start out with our player tracking trends within the casino gaming industry. Ultimately today, player tracking is a very hot button topic. However, it's very limited to existing players that already play slot machines. So basically, any player that is a frequenter of a slot machine may be receiving a player tracking card, and they're able to insert that into a slot machine. And this is great for providing very extensive data for these existing players in the existing market. However, you may notice that because it's only if you have a player tracking card, this can actually limit the data points that we have available for new players, as well as potential new players that might be interested in engaging with the slot machine market. But we really don't have a way to, and slot machine manufacturers don't have a way to track this data and these potential users. Also, a trend within this space is the growing interest in analytics. And we're not just seeing this in casino gaming, it's ultimately taking a hold of all industries. But a lot of casino gaming slot machine makers as well as casinos are adopting dashboards to evaluate data in real time, to plot out more strategic floors in their casinos, to enable more playing on the floor, as well as ensuring that they have the right games that are engaging with their existing player base. But ultimately, those data points are limited to what we are able to track today. And also highlighting a lot of key points that Patrick had mentioned in his presentation is the interaction history of player to slot machine. And for decades, ultimately, this has really been limited to your button presses, like your bash button, as well as lever pulls and now touchscreens as the means to interact with the player to the slot machine. As players become more familiar with the technology, we've then seen it become adopted into a slot machine. So now that smartphones and tablets are transcending generations, we're seeing a lot of slot machine makers implement them as a new way for players to interact. This is just how I interact with my phone, and now I can do it with a slot machine. The main theme being for these technologies is they're very long-term existing technologies. When a player is approaching a slot machine or walking by one, ultimately they know exactly what to expect, and they know that they're going to get a very consistent operation out of that. And that's great for the existing player base. But in order to draw new players in, you want to find new ways, ultimately, to have that player engage with a game. And today, I'm going to be going in depth on Omron's human image sensing software, OCal. And what OCal is ultimately a software library with image sensing functions that is meant to understand humans. And we've divided the various, the many different feature set into 4 key categories. And that is detect, detecting in detail, recognizing/estimating, as well as adjusting. And there's a lot of key features that might be of interest to the casino gaming market, and we'll get into those applications as well. But as a high-level overview from detect, we can start out with a base function of face detection. We have human body detection, hand, eye, and yes, for the dogs on the call today, even pet detection. We can also detect in detail from facial part and contour detection with up to 106 points on one given face. We have blink estimation, gaze estimation, so we can see where the eyes are looking on screen, as well as human body and silhouette detection. We can even take that a step further with our face parts and turn that into facial recognition. We can do age and gender estimation, smile, and even expression estimation. How are the players feeling? Imposter prevention, and an adjustment, red eye reduction, and OCal beauty. Traditionally, two features that are more for photo booths in that market. But taking a look at how these features can be implemented directly into slot machines and where that interest might be, is we can actually combine quite a few of these features to really make some compelling solutions into a slot machine. So OCal at its core is an edge-based software which will be operated via camera. And so with this, our function list that you might find interesting, specifically for casinos and slot machines, being age, gender, emotion detection, face parts, face direction, gaze estimation, as well as facial recognition. And we can take a look and see which potential applications might fall into that casino gaming market. The first being age verification. This is something a bit more of a hot button issue in VLT. Specifically, this is something that's been implemented directly in the EU market, where the UK law has now required some additional any additional step to be taken to verify the age of a player before sitting down at a slot machine, potentially in that VLT setting. So this is something that can be expanded into the Asia Pacific as well as US market based on state-by-state regulation. And with OCal, you could essentially have that age be estimated. Say something like you want to set a parameter of any player that appears under 35 years old, their ID must be checked by an attendant. And this is a potential use case for age verification to limit the use of minors on slot machines in the VLT market. We can also utilize facial recognition for VIP recognition. So say this could almost replace that player tracking card. So when a certain player likes a beverage when they sit down at this machine, when that player logs into that machine, the casino could be notified that that player is playing, and they could bring over a potential meal or beverage to that player to really cater and elevate that VIP experience. And even partnering with those casinos to really separate your slot machines on the show floor. We can also gather those player tracking details for people that don't have cards, right? We don't have any profile made for these potential players, or the people that maybe put in a few dollars that they had and then end up walking away because they lost engagement or just don't want to continue playing. We can find out more details about them from our age and gender estimation, as well as detecting that emotion. How engaged are they? Are they happy? Are they not really looking at the screen? They're just doing a few rolls and then moving on. Taking the recognition a step further, we can also do that for potential security alerts, partnered with anyone that might not be welcome back into casinos. And then taking our face direction and actually using that to have the player interact with the game in a new way. Having their face tracked and potentially controlling an avatar or potentially objects on screen as a new mode for players to interact. As motion gaming and even human tracking becomes more popular in the consumer and VR space, now we can kind of start to transition and bring that into the casino floor as well. Here's another application from Omron's AM1 human body detection. This is another use case of OCal detecting the silhouette of a human body. And you can see this demo's on display at the Omron factory and can currently track up to 10 people in one fisheye lens. So you can imagine a camera at the top of a slot bank or potentially embedded in the ceiling of a casino or VLT area. And you're able to track people as they walk from point A to point B. How much time are they spending in front of a slot machine? Are they sitting down after a certain amount of time, or are they just walking past? This can help casinos optimize their floor more. This can help also slot machine companies make more engaging games that draw in certain demographics. And so this is just a use case, again, Omron's AM1 demo, which detects that human silhouette as they move throughout a designated area. And currently we're able to track up to 10 people at once in one fisheye lens. So this algorithm is continuing to grow with various applications. And another application, as I mentioned, is that interaction with the game, with potentially using face direction detection. So by taking the points on the face, we can actually demonstrate and evaluate the direction that they're facing. As those points turn, we know that the face is turning in various X, Y, and Z directions. And so by taking face direction detection, you can essentially enhance those existing input methods, your bash button, your touch screen. And then by implementing a camera, not only are we getting data on the player, but we're also having them interact with the game in a brand new way. Maybe they're controlling an avatar as it moves through a jackpot, collecting coins. And this is going to increase that player immersion to have them control an avatar on screen, not necessarily broadcasting their face to a casino floor, but it's a very fun and unique way to also potentially increase the engagement with the player. So with it being through OCal, we have very high accuracy, and you'll be able to tweak kind of how much as the player's face moves, the avatar moves on screen, and you'll be able to sync that in real time with the game to have that input and interaction and create direct output with the game as well. Cal edge-based software, there's a great ease of integration utilizing OCal into any existing platform as well. So here's a quick demo of our face direction detection at work. So you can see that face parts is detecting the eyes, nose, and mouth at a very base level, not the 106 points of detail in the contour detection. But then there's an axis right there on the engineer's forehead where we can see as the head moves from left to right, we can see those axes move. And so that is going to be output directly to you, which you can then in turn translate into the game and make that a fun interactive experience with the player. Again, at a high level overview, there is a lot of various features within OCal. It is a image sensing technology. So think of this as that sensing method to find new players and have that player tracking data. It has to be sensed in some way. Right now, it's the player tracking card. And so by using OCal, we can get that face detection. We can do gender, age estimation, expression, face direction, gaze estimation, blink estimation, as well as body detection. This is a mature software that continues to improve with more than 1.5 licenses used. It is a very high performance algorithm that's being utilized at the edge without network. Again, this can be outputted as image or as raw data. So you're not necessarily collecting these image files of the players. You're just gathering the data points, not so that way their security isn't at risk. And with it being at the edge, this can be stored safely on your network. So there's no issue or risk of it being potentially hacked or leaked in any way, as it's embedded directly at the edge there, potentially on your platform or your cloud-based platform. This is also touchless sensing via camera, so no wearable or any type of button or activation required. But with this being a software, I do also want to mention that Omron has produced a hardware module which has 10 features embedded directly on it. So this is a hardware module featuring a camera with an FPC connector, and OCal is actually running on that board. We call this our HVC-P2. And so this is a readily available product with 10 OCal features embedded directly, and you're able to, it's running on, so it's not going to tax your CPU at all. OCal will be running on this board, and you're able to take that output and input it directly into, if you want to utilize it for age verification or potentially have it as an input for your game. That way, you're really not taxing the CPU too much. You're just taking that output directly and then plugging it into your machine. So this is a great all ready to go package solution that's readily available. These are the 10 features that come on board with our HVC-P2, and that is face detection, face recognition, gender estimation, age estimation, expression estimation, face direction, gaze, blink, hand, and body. So a lot of the applications that we already talked about, kind of combining with different experiences, having your VIP, your age verification, your security alerts, your player engagement using face parts and face direction, all these are already on board and ready to go. So that way you can go ahead and purchase one of these as a sample and already get to prototyping with a demo readily available. So this is a great solution for you to test some of those features. If you do want to have OCal running on your system, that's perfectly fine as well. We can issue it as more of a software license agreement. That way you're able to select your own camera module and various resolutions. But I did want to highlight the HVC-P2 as a ready-to-go solution. We do have two different types, one with a smaller viewing angle if you want to kind of focus in on just the player that's sitting down at that slot machine. This is our 50-degree type, or the 90-degree type, which is a little bit more wide of a viewing angle, something that might be better fit for something embedded at the top of a slot bank. And that way you can get more of an idea of data being presented on the casino floor. These are high resolution cameras, as the module installed is a 1600 by 1200 pixel resolution. And I do want to touch on the fact that with human body detection as well, you can actually utilize these as a mode to implement kind of a low power state mode. So if you want your slot machine kind of idled, but you can power on your HVC-P2 at a relatively low power consumption, just 2 watts, have that running. And then once there is the output of a human body detection, you can kind of fire up the screen and additional light. So this can give you a sensing component to potentially have an idle and standby mode as well in your slot machine to save some energy on the show floor. I did also want to highlight briefly our time of flight B5L sensor. And primarily this is to show how our OCal algorithm is continually being updated and bringing in new features in brand new ways. So the B5L is a time of flight sensor that takes point image data. So it's essentially sending an LED out, and as that reflects back and taking that time, it's measuring that distance. So with that, we're able to actually detect, you can see in that 2D image, different people standing and different objects in a room. This is something that can be utilized in robotics and logistics, as well as even monitoring and observation. And showing this, we do have OCal working in tandem with the B5L, so not even with a camera module, but with a time of flight sensor. And you can see 2 of our engineers as it tracks their skeletal detection. So we're constantly looking at brand new markets and ways that we can evolve the OCal algorithm, not only to incorporate with a camera, but also in circumstances where cameras might not be able to be utilized. So that way we've taken our algorithm, something like skeletal detection, and can implement it into a time of flight sensor. So we're always looking at new ways to evaluate and develop into new solutions with OCal. So with that, that concludes today's presentation and our webinar. I want to thank you all so much for attending. Again, my name is Evan Kuhn, Business Development Manager for our AI integration. The leader of today's webinar was Patrick Leahy, who's our Business Development Manager for the casino gaming industry. And with that, we will now open it up to any questions you have.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, thanks so much, Evan, Patrick, and all of those dogs in attendance. Thanks very much. Hey, this is a great presentation. Gave me some unique insight into the gaming industry for sure. The AI element was pretty fascinating as well. So we've got time for a couple more questions, but audience, remember that you can ask questions at any time on demand, and Omron will get back to you with the answers. So let's start with, how many designs can be on one panel for STP? Patrick or Evan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And because the panel is edge lit, you could actually have 4 different images on one panel, depending on which side or edge you want to light. So the answer would be 4.
Okay. All right, we might get to a couple more. So that was a quick one. Are we able to select specific functions on OCal that only apply to our application?
Yes, that is a great question. So with the software-based, yes, you can absolutely pick kind of the exact functions that you would require. When we do the evaluation stage, of course, we can talk about additional ones that you might have other ideas for. If you're going to the software and want to enter into a software license agreement, we can get down to exactly the feature set that you would prefer. However, if it's something that you prefer on the finished hardware module, the HVCP2, unfortunately, that is already pre-selected. So that's a finished product. There's 10 features on that, essentially the ones that we went over today. What that comes with is ultimately what's going to ship. So if you want to select it for the software, yes, we can do that.
I think it still underscores how you can differentiate your product quite a bit. You mentioned that throughout the presentation, how to make it unique, but you still have some baseline that you have to work with as well, but you can customize. I think that's important. So we have time for a couple more questions. Is there an audible click feedback from the bash button?
Another good question. And, so our bash button utilizes a sealed pressure sensor to do the main detection of the button press. So because of that, ours does not have that audible click that you would find in the traditional bash buttons on the market, because those are using mechanical contacts. But there are other ways to have a sound be heard, whether it's through the noise of the slot machine or maybe pairing it with a different component that does have a little bit of sound activated.
So you could customize that sound, right? Because people are used to hearing something when they hit, even though we know you don't necessarily have to hear anything, right?
Yeah, we could work. So unfortunately, you'll never be able to get a true sound from our bash button, but we do know that there are ways to couple our bash button with different technologies to create that sound.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, can Omron recommend the resolution of the camera needed for OCal?
Sure thing. Yeah, that's another great question. And that can be a part of our conversation. So each of the OCal feature has a different resolution requirement depending on what you want to do. So if you want to detect high level points in the face, it's going to require a little bit greater of a resolution to do so, and the number of people on one screen that we can detect. However, if you want something like the fisheye lens, it's going to be high up on the casino floor, but you want to detect a certain amount of people at a given distance, we can work with you on the resolution that's required for that. As a general rule, the higher the resolution camera, usually the better the features are going to work. And as I mentioned on the hardware module, there is already a pre-selected camera with a resolution of 1600 by 1200. But if you have a certain feature set in mind and your application, we can work with you on the best camera available, or resolution, that is.
Great, great. Another question. I know, Patrick, you mentioned the thickness of the bash button itself, but the question from the audience is, what thickness of glass is the bash button compatible with?
Oh, that's a great question. So the bash button is compatible with glass thickness of 3 millimeters.
Okay, good, easy.
Very straightforward.
That gives you time for one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Does Omron supply the LEDs and the driver for STP?
So we do not. Typically, we just provide the STP panel, but we can recommend various LED drivers or the actual LEDs themselves as well that we use in our prototypes and our assemblies. So we can make recommendations, but unfortunately, we do not supply those.
No, that's okay, as long as you're willing to help. All right, so audience, that is going to wrap that up for today. We're at the top of the hour, but again, I will emphasize that you can watch this webinar on demand from Omron and take advantage of that survey that Evan mentioned for feedback. Feedback's great. The fact that Omron wants it means they're going to work with you and get those questions answered, take your feedback seriously. So I think it's a really great opportunity to get yourself heard. So remember, this is on demand, and it's at the same link that you received when you registered. I want to thank Evan and Patrick and from Omron for the presentation today. It was really interesting, very different for us, and really some very cool technology there. Also, I've got to thank Bexley and Stella for putting their 2 cents in, because hey, this makes it real, right? All right, from EE World Online and Amy Kalnoskis and Omron, thank you so much, gentlemen.
All right,
Thank you, Amy.